Hey guys, this is Rachel Jones from This Is Not a Craft, and today we're going to be making Valentines. Not that I love Valentine's Day, because I actually don't, but I do like making little books, and so we're going to be making a little book Valentine, and it'll be done with this music sheet note paper and other random things around the house. And on the way we're going to learn how to assemble a book out of an old book, which makes the process go a lot faster than making one from scratch. And so you can be able to send your Valentines to all sorts of boyfriends that you have right now. Hopefully just one, but some people like to, share. I love going to thrift stores and finding these really crappy old books and taking off the covers. This one's called Christmas in Mexico. It was like a limited edition print by an author no one knows about or cares about. Birthday treasury. Some of them are kind of funny, like The Secret of the Silver Dolphin. Little things like this that I find that are really cheap, like $1 or $2. If you're going to like a really expensive secondhand bookstore, sometimes they're like $15 for books like this, but really you shouldn't be spending more than a few dollars on them. You can add to your book any page from anywhere, basically. We need to first decide, because I'm using this music note paper as, I should have used a metal ruler. Went right onto the plastic there. I'm weird, I don't change the blade on my X-Acto knife. I just use a whetstone. I've never had to change the blade. A lot of people don't know you can do that, and it's totally fine. Like, no one's going to arrest you if you use a whetstone like that. I'm going to take just one page and make a really small signature. I don't want to put that much time in this book. We have a lot of boyfriends to write to, right? To get all of them. Fold it in half. And then from here you can decide how big you want to make the book. And I decided I'm not going to use this top bit. I'm going to put as much music notes as I can. We're going to fit in 4. So we use this one as the guide for the next one. If it isn't perfectly square, we're going to get it perfectly square later. I just like to cut these off first and then square them down once I've cut all of them. So now that I've got them all piled onto each other, it squares right off. Let's say you've got this note that you've been saving because like the first sign he liked you was this note that says heart to you. You can give it back to him and make it part of your book. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide these notes behind these little pieces of paper. And what you do is you fold them all in half and then stuff this guy with a little lip coming over. This is where we're going to sew our book together. And when you do that, he's going to open it and he'll be like, what's behind here? And he's like, oh, I remember that. Cute little moment. So now that we've got that together where we want it, we want to make a hole down the center of all of these pages. And we want to make sure that it's at the center. And I'm just going to do that with my X-Acto knife. You can also do this with an owl, AWL. In case you don't have one, I'm just going to use that until it comes out the other side. And this is why I sharpen my X-Acto knife with a whetstone, because I do stuff like this to it. Okay, so you have that coming out. And we want one right there. We want one right there. In traditional bookbinding, they're very specific about where to put your holes for tapes and stuff like that, but this is our only signature and we don't really care. To tie together, I'm just going to use this waxed string because I'm weird like that. And I like waxed string because it really keeps it together. Also because it has that pop of color, it looks kind of rich and expensive. If you think because it kind of is a little bit more pricey than normal string, and if you can't find a certain wax string in a certain color, you can actually make your own by getting kind of like, it's called a beeswax or something like that. You can find it at a craft store where it puts beeswax onto your string, so you can use just whatever string around, and that'll make it a little bit firmer. These have all moved now. No. If they all move, then you have to go through one by one. It's okay. In fact, I should probably show you how to do that so you know how. So just go through, and you're going to sew it in like you would normally sew something. there. Just going to take this and tie it into a knot. At this point, you want to fill up your book with stuff and, you know, make it look all pretty. Looking at it, I'm going to say that at this white spot, I want to cut it because we need a little bit of lip around here. And then this edge over here, we're actually just gonna, we're kind of gonna fudge a little bit when we finally bind this together. So cut your book with an X-Acto knife, or actually use a box knife for this. And it's going to take kind of a while, so be prepared for that. So mark it off with a pencil. You want it right there. Use your ruler. Decide exactly where it is. It's 3.5 inches for me. For you, it will be different. We just do the same thing we did before. Make sure your knife's pretty sharp because this kind of sucks. Now we have the 2 edges of our book. Voila! And we have this. Also voila. Yours will be filled with stuff. Mine is not filled with stuff because this is a tutorial. Now what we need to do is make something to glue on the back here. And this fabric is nice and thick. It's upholstery fabric. And it has on the back of it kind of this paper plastic texture coating. I don't really know what it is or where you can buy it. But there's stuff you can get at just the normal craft store. Will allow you to make your paper gluable, and you'll need to get it. I'm not being precise at all with this, am I? Oh well. If you have like crimpers, not crimpers, but those scissors that make patterns on the edge, those would be cool to use right now. Because we don't really want to care. In fact, I'm going to make a pattern because I don't want to care. You're not selling it. You better not be selling it. It's handmade. So I put these little niches in so it won't matter later that this isn't square. This is something I do sometimes when I'm feeling kind of lazy. But if you're a perfectionist, then definitely just make it square in the beginning. But if you're not, just do what I'm doing and make it look like you meant to do that. Test it out to see how this puppy looks. This will wrap around the side. Not exactly perfectly, but good enough. And I kind of like, again, the playful side of it. Alright, so we have the edge of our thing. And we'll go over on our thing, what do you call it? Our spine. I want you to get all nice and happy. And we're going to do something totally different from normal bookbinding. But you know what? We just don't have 3 years to make a book today. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to put glue down on here. And we're just going to put it on this side. Put this on. I'm only putting the book spine there not to glue it in, but just to know how wide this needs to be. And then I'll just kind of comfortably swoosh that on. You have to kind of hold it down for a little bit. And this will be the tricky part, is getting the edges over. To do that, you take out the middle and you just push it on in. You might need more glue. My glue is running out. I'm not really acting gluey. I want it a lot more saturated than I was doing just now. You want to get into that crevice. You want to squish those corners in and make it look more professional. If it's lifting up, it just needs more glue. spreading apart. Oh well. The problem is, on normal books we use something called end pages, and we glue them in. This one is so thin that if we glued it in, it would just look really, really odd over here. Don't you think that would look weird? I think it really would. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue sewing into just the back of the book completely. So that way a lot of ugly is still covered up, but you don't have to worry about things like, you know, where to glue your end papers, getting those perfect and all that. Like, it's kind of a stressful situation. We're just not even going to deal. So you see we just stitch down here. That looks pretty stitched, doesn't it? And it looks a little bit more classy than the typical Valentine's cards instead of Valentine's book. So here's a close-up of the book. Yeah, this ends raw, who cares? But it's got this nice handmade look to it. Very organic, and I like that look. Here's the stitching. It makes it look like you made this, not some random person that you bought it from. I accidentally got the nick right there. So I can cover that up later with like a piece of paper all on this side, make it all pretty. Here's a little note, heart you! And going through, they will very much enjoy and appreciate it. And again, here's a part where I actually nicked it, but there you go. There's an easier little book card that will be great for Valentine's Day.